want to say before we start the video, I'll record this after I've said it, but if my voice sounds a little bit nasally, I apologise for that. I've just got a little bit of hay fever. So yeah, I apologise for that, but yeah, let's get into the video. Hello guys and welcome back to the Wolf Pack. Today, it's Henry from the Old Gold TV, and I am going to be bringing you a comparison in stats and career of the last two managers seemingly on the shortlist for Wolves for their vacant position since Nuno has left the club. And those two managers, if you do or you don't know, I'm pretty sure most of you will by now, are Frank Lampard and Bruno Lage. So we're going to be, as I say, go through their careers, stats, and how they might line up with a Wolves team with some signings. So yeah, I hope you do enjoy, and we will get into the video right now. Okay, so we're going to start with the number one target, it seems, for Wolves, Bruno Lage. And obviously, I just want to go through before we start. I think he will be the one that we bring in. However, we can't guarantee anything as he still has to get a work permit, which isn't guaranteed. I think there's a hearing on Wednesday to see if he will get that work permit. So that'll be interesting if he gets to that. And I think if he does, he will be the man for the job. Although if he doesn't, it might go to Lampard or maybe another manager. So we'd have to see. But to what Bruno Lage likes to play, it's a vastly attacking manager, if you don't know. He likes to play with a 4-4-2, so different to anything we've seen at Wolves under the Nuno era. He likes to play sort of a big target man striker. You could see a Raul Jimenez or a Fabio Silva in the future playing there, with a smaller sort of false nine playing in behind, which would be the João Felix at Benfica. So you could maybe see someone like Pedence or Vitinha just slipping into that pocket behind the big striker, or perhaps even a new player brought in to play in that role, as I say, just behind the striker. He likes to play sort of two DMs, two number sixes, so you can see if he doesn't move on, and Neves, Otasawi, Dendoncker, some of those players, maybe even a new midfielder that we sort of need to bring in. Obviously, Neto and Adama on both wings could be very, very effective if that's what we do end up playing, and if we do end up keeping hold of those two attacking assets. And Lage also likes to play sort of inverted wing backs that like to come forward on attack. So at right back, you could definitely see Nelson Semedo slotting in there. And this wing back kind of inverted attacking role is what we have seen under Nuno. And what Johnny was so good at in that Nuno era. So you could definitely see one of Nori, Johnny, and then Semedo on the other side, maybe even Hoover coming in to play that inverted wing-back role, and I think that could work out very well for Wolves. So that's what I've said in terms of what he likes to play. So let's move on to what I think Lage could play for Wolves in terms of a lineup. So in terms of a lineup for Wolves, there's sort of two possible things we could do under Lage. Obviously, I will be considering with the options who I think might go, who I think will stay, anyone I think will bring in, although I won't specifically mention names, as we do have a transfer targets series that we might get some of those names in, so go and watch those videos if you do want to see who I think we could bring in. But I'm just going to say, obviously, new centre-back, new goalkeeper, providing on what position that I do think it will be. So, yeah, let's get into this. So we're going to start off with a new player in goal, with Rui Patricio rumoured to be leaving Wolves for around £15 to £20 million to apparently perhaps join Jose Mourinho's Roma, which will be an interesting one. I won't comment on what my thoughts on that, but I think a new goalkeeper would have to be brought in. I don't think we could rely on Sondergaard, certainly not Ruddy. We've also got Matthias Sarkic out on loan, who we signed from Aston Villa in the summer, although I think it will have to be a new, more experienced goalkeeper in order for Rui to leave. At left back, as I've said, I could certainly see Johnny slipping into that role. Right back, Nelson Semedo, I've also said definitely could play there. The two centre-backs is an interesting one because definitely Willy Bolly could definitely play well in the back four. Although I do worry for Conor Cody in the fact that I don't think other managers would play him like Nuno has and trust him in the back four, which both Lampard and Lage play. So I've gone for a new centre-back there. As we move on to the midfield, left midfield, I've gone with Pedro Neto. I really hope he can keep hold of him this summer. I think we'll be able to, especially since he's injured. Maybe the demand won't be as high as it would have been if he was fully fit. So we'll go with him. On the right, Adama Traore. I think if we do end up tying him down the new contracts, which I think we can do, although I do think it will depend on what manager Wolves bring in. I think Adama will wait to see what manager does come in before he puts pen to paper. So that's what I've gone with. I hope we can keep hold of him. And as for the two DMs that I said Lage likes to play, I've gone with Ruben Neves again. Hope we can keep hold of him. Rumours for him to be leaving, although apparently Wolves won't be forced into selling him. It's just if we want to make some money for transfer budgets, he could be utilised. So you know what, we'll put Neves in there. And I've also gone with Owen Otasawi because personally, I think he's better than Dendoncker. I think a lot of Wolves fans would agree with him and thinks he deserved more of a chance this season under Nuno, and especially because Bruno Lage, he's been shown at Benfica to have a lot of faith in young players like the likes of João Felix and Ruben Diaz. So I think he could definitely put a lot of emphasis on the young players. So I think Otasawi could be one we could definitely see starting in that DM role. And as for the strikers, or the striker and the false nine, as I say, I can see a sort of Jimenez Podence kind of thing, maybe even if we sign Vitinha on a permanent Vitinha into that false nine role. So it would definitely be interesting to see, although if Raul is fully fit after his injury, then I could definitely see him playing there with a Vitinha or a Podence in behind. So that's the kind of insight that I wanted to give you on Bruno Lage and sort of what he could line up with. I suppose he could also line up with a Fabio Silva or a Raul Jimenez up front as well as maybe not the false nine, or he could play a more attacking centre mid than Otasawi or Neves. Or he could play Nori over Johnny. There's lots of things that he could do, but it would just be interesting to see what he ends up doing if he does come in. Now I've given you the insight on the lineup, what he's like. We're just going to give you a little bit of a look into his stats when he was at Benfica. Okay, so he played around 70 games with Benfica, and he had a 67.11% win rate as their manager, so it's not too bad. He won the 2019 Primeira League, and he won the 2019 Super Cup in Portugal. He was also voted the best coach of 2019 in Portugal and got the Portuguese Federation Coach of the Year in 2019, and these were all when he was managing Benfica in his first season. So that's for you, is Bruno Lage. Let me know what you think about him in the comments. Do you want him? Do you not want him? Obviously, the work permit will be an interesting thing. Without further ado, let's move on to Frank Lampard. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the second candidate, which is Frank Lampard. Now, this is going to be one that you know more about, considering his playing days at Chelsea and the fact that he's managed in the Premier League more recently. Obviously, managing Chelsea, getting sacked earlier this year after a string of poor results. But I'll tell you anyway, his playing style, he likes to play attacking play in a 4-3-3, mostly at Chelsea. So you could see a sort of Jimenez, Adama, Neto front three, which could be ever so effective, as we saw towards the end of last year. But with Neto improving, Adama improving, hopefully Jimenez coming back better than ever, you could definitely see that being lethal. But, and he also, just like Lage, puts an emphasis on young players. Chelsea, especially with that transfer ban that he had to push on with young players and play them and keep faith in them. And that's what he did. And I think that's a trait that Wolves and Fossen seem to be looking at the moment, is faith in young players. Because as we saw, that's what Bruno Lage had at Benfica. That's what Lampard had at both Derby and Chelsea. Obviously, at Derby, he brought players in such as Mason Mount, who was a huge asset towards their promotion push. Obviously, they reached a playoff final, but unfortunately lost. in that season, and also then Mason Mount coming back to Chelsea and playing a part with Frank Lampard. So he's definitely puts an emphasis on young players, and that's something that Wolves and Fossen seem to be looking for with how they would with how they want the future to be for Wolves, considering how good our young talent is. You've got players such as Ryan Ait-Nouri, who's been fabulous this season. Vitinha, Fabio Silva, Otasawi, Pedro Neto, even Adama Traore, still relatively young. You've got a really good academy as well. I've probably missed out loads there. You've got a really good academy. Keon Hoover, you've got a really good academy with players like Theo Corbeanu coming through, who we saw in the first team a couple of weeks ago. I think made his debut against Spurs. He's been great this season. We do have a lot of very, very good young players that coming through the academy or already involved in the first team that we can definitely improve in the future and be our future. So I think that's the right move from Fossen. But yeah, that's definitely something Fossen are looking for. And with these young players, let's move on to what we did with Lage and see how Wolves could line up next season under Lampard if he was to be the new manager. Now, as I've already said, I won't explain the players that I've just gone with. I've got rid of the same players that I think may leave in the summer. As I said, Rui Patricio was one of them. Perhaps Ruben Neves, although I didn't make it. I didn't replace him, as I very much hope he will stay. And also Giammattino, the one that I thought would go. Rumours of him going back to Porto. So let's get into the lineup. As I said, a 4-3-3 under Lampard was what they were discussing. And I think that in goal, obviously new goalkeeper, as I've said, but the midfield and defence will be a tricky one. It'd be interesting to see, obviously, with him being English, would he keep faith in Conor Cody? Unfortunately for Cody, I think not. I just think he's going to want to play a very solid back four if he's going to base it on attacking. He's going to want to create a solid back line before he builds on the attack. So I think, unfortunately, Conor Cody would miss out. So again, like I said, with Lage, it would be Bolly and a new centre-back. On the left-back, I think it would be Johnny, and on right, Semedo. So an identical back line, although I think that one's, pretty nailed on with the players we have and the players that we need to bring in terms of defensive security. Now, the midfield is an interesting one. So what I've gone with is Ruben Neves on the left side of the midfield, Otasawi on the right side of the midfield to provide a little bit of aggression and a little bit of protection, especially with Lampard liking the young players, as I said, with Lage. Providing the protection for Neves and Podence or Vitinha, who I'm going to put in at cam, to go and, pull the strings and be creative with Otasawi sitting deeper, just making sure that the midfielders for the opposition team can't get near Neves and Vitinha and Podence, who are the ones that are going to be creating, because we've seen this a lot last season and this season. Vitinha and Neves just haven't been physical enough in midfield, so haven't been able to pull the strings like they previously would have done in the Championship, or not, well, for Neves' case, Championship, or in other years, in other leagues for Giammattino. So that's the midfield that I've gone with. On the left, as I said, I've told you this front three before, but I'm just going to repeat it again because it sounds very, very good, to be honest. With Neto on the left, his pace, his power, the precision of his passing and shooting, cutting inside, you could definitely see that kind of thing working. On the right, Adama Traore, again with pace, the crosses to the head of Raul Jimenez, who I've gone with up front, who I just hope he can come back to full fitness. And as I've said with Jimenez in the past, I don't know if you'll know this, but as I've said, I don't think it'll be a physical thing with Jimenez. I think he'll be able to play now. To be honest, he could probably play the game, and the physical side of it would be fine. It would just be the mentality and the mental issues of heading the ball again after having such a bad injury. So I think it'll be the mental side of things for Raul Jimenez. I just really hope he can come back stronger and be part of the future of Wolves for the time being, at least. So, yeah, that'll be interesting. But that's what I've gone with for the lineup. Let me know in the comments what you think. Would you rather Frank Lampard or would you rather Bruno Lage? Let me know down in the comments. Also, if you do enjoy the video, make sure to subscribe to the Wolf Pack. Help us get our numbers on the channel up, and also subscribe to my personal channel, The Old Gold TV, where I upload very similar content and make some videos that I really hope you'd enjoy. I also recently released a video with the bookies' favourites for the managers. So if you're not sure, you need to catch up. I'm sure you do know by now. But if you're not sure, I want to catch up. Please go check out that video. We're doing really well on that video actually. 700 views, which I'm really happy with considering we've only got 80 subscribers on the channel. So I'm grateful for every single one of those subscribers and every single one of those views. But if we could get that up even more, that would be absolutely fantastic. But thank you for watching. And other than that, I will see you next time.
When the walls come out